The history of the United States is intricately woven with the legacies of its presidents. From the nation's founding in the late 18th century to the present day, each president has played a pivotal role in shaping the course of American history. This script delves into the lives, policies, and impacts of these leaders, offering a comprehensive look at their contributions and challenges. The Founding Fathers. George Washington, 1789-1797. As the first president of the United States, George Washington set many precedents for the national government and the presidency. His leadership during the Revolutionary War and his role in drafting the Constitution solidified his place as a pivotal figure in American history. Washington's farewell address warned against political parties and foreign alliances, advice that resonated through the ages. John Adams, 1797-1801. John Adams, the nation's second president and a leading advocate for independence, faced significant challenges, including the quasi-war with France. His commitment to maintaining peace and his role in passing the Alien and Sedition Acts, controversial as they were, highlighted the complexities of early American governance. The Early Republic. Thomas Jefferson, 1801-1809. Thomas Jefferson's presidency marked the Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the United States. His vision of an agrarian democracy and his efforts to limit federal government power defined his tenure. However, the Embargo Act of 1807, which aimed to avoid war by halting trade, had mixed results. James Madison, 1809-1817. Known as the father of the Constitution, James Madison's presidency was dominated by the War of 1812. The conflict tested the young nation's resilience and ended in a draw that bolstered American nationalism. Madison's role in drafting the Bill of Rights and his leadership during the war solidified his legacy. James Monroe, 1817-1825. James Monroe's presidency is often remembered for the Monroe Doctrine, which warned European powers against further colonization in the Americas. His era, known as the Era of Good Feelings, was marked by a sense of national purpose and political unity, although underlying tensions remained. The Age of Jackson. John Quincy Adams, 1825-1829. Son of John Adams, John Quincy Adams faced a contentious presidency marred by accusations of a corrupt bargain with Henry Clay. Despite this, he promoted infrastructure improvements and modernized the economy. His post-presidential career as a congressman was distinguished by his strong opposition to slavery. Andrew Jackson, 1829-1837. Andrew Jackson, a populist war hero, expanded executive power and championed the common man. His policies, including the Indian Removal Act, had devastating impacts on Native American populations. Jackson's dismantling of the Second Bank of the United States and his forceful stance on states' rights and nullification showcased his complex legacy. The Antebellum Period. Martin Van Buren, 1837-1841. A skilled politician, Martin Van Buren faced an economic depression during his presidency, known as the Panic of 1837. Despite his efforts to stabilize the economy, his term was largely seen as unsuccessful, leading to his defeat in the next election. William Henry Harrison, 1841. William Henry Harrison's presidency was tragically short, lasting only 32 days due to his death from pneumonia. His lengthy inaugural address in cold weather is often cited as a contributing factor to his illness and subsequent death. John Tyler, 1841-1845. John Tyler, Harrison's vice president, became the first to succeed to the presidency upon the incumbent's death. His term was marked by conflicts with Congress and his own party, yet he made significant strides in foreign policy, including the annexation of Texas. The Road to Civil War. James K. Polk, 1845-1849. James K. Polk's presidency saw significant territorial expansion, including the Oregon Territory and the Mexican-American War, which resulted in the acquisition of California and the Southwest. His administration's focus on manifest destiny expanded the nation's borders, but also heightened sectional tensions over slavery. Zachary Taylor, 1849-1850. A military leader with no prior political experience, Zachary Taylor's short presidency was dominated by debates over the expansion of slavery into new territories. His sudden death left many of these issues unresolved. Millard Fillmore, 1850-1853. Fillmore, who succeeded Taylor, supported the Compromise of 1850, which aimed to ease sectional tensions by admitting California as a free state and implementing stricter fugitive slave laws. His support for these measures was controversial and did little to prevent the impending conflict. Franklin Pierce, 1853-1857. Pierce's presidency was marked by the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed territories to decide on slavery through popular sovereignty. This led to violent conflict in Bleeding, Kansas, and deepened the national divide. James Buchanan, 1857-1861. James Buchanan's inability to address the escalating tensions between the North and South is often criticized. His inaction and support for pro-slavery elements contributed to the secession of Southern states and the onset of the Civil War. The Civil War and Reconstruction. Abraham Lincoln, 1861-1865. Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most revered presidents, led the nation through its greatest crisis, the Civil War. His Emancipation Proclamation and dedication to preserving the Union redefined the nation's values. Lincoln's assassination in 1865 left the country in mourning, and his plans for Reconstruction unfulfilled. Andrew Johnson, 1865-1869. Lincoln's successor, Andrew Johnson, faced the daunting task of reconstructing the South. His lenient policies towards former Confederate states and opposition to civil rights legislation for freed slaves led to his impeachment, although he was ultimately acquitted. Ulysses S. Grant, 1869-1877. A Civil War hero, Ulysses S. Grant's presidency focused on Reconstruction and the protection of African American rights. However, his administration was marred by corruption scandals, undermining his efforts and tarnishing his legacy. The Gilded Age. Rutherford B. Hayes, 1877-1881. Hayes' presidency marked the end of Reconstruction through the Compromise of 1877, which resulted in the withdrawal of federal troops from the South. His efforts to reform the civil service and promote racial equality faced significant resistance. James A. Garfield, 1881. James A. Garfield's presidency was cut short by his assassination after only a few months in office. His efforts to reform the civil service were continued by his successor. Chester A. Arthur, 1881-1885. Arthur, who succeeded Garfield, surprised many by championing civil service reform with the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act. His administration also saw the modernization of the Navy and efforts to reduce tariffs. Grover Cleveland, 1885-1889, 1893-1897. The only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms, Grover Cleveland's administrations focused on fiscal conservatism and political reform. His opposition to the annexation of Hawaii and efforts to lower tariffs marked his tenure. Benjamin Harrison, 1889-1893. Harrison's presidency saw the passage of significant legislation, including the McKinley Tariff and the Sherman Antitrust Act. His support for civil rights and veterans' benefits contrasted with his predecessor's policies. The Progressive Era. William McKinley, 1897-1901. McKinley's presidency marked the Spanish-American War, which resulted in the U.S. acquiring territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. His assassination in 1901 led to the ascension of Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, 1901-1909. A charismatic leader, Roosevelt's square deal policies aimed at progressive reforms in labor, conservation, and business regulation. His efforts to break up monopolies and establish national parks cemented his legacy as a reformer. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.